Well, that was almost perfect timing. Hey, chat, how are you doing? Hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday. Happy end of the first week of 2021. I know we're all damn happy to be here. I'm happy to be right here with you. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. It was a bit of a mad shit show to get this thing set up. To quote my old man, I kind of had 10 pounds of shit to shove into a 5-pound sack. That's what happened before getting this all up and running. We're actually kind of on time, which is crazy. I found out at the last minute that all my settings that I saved on my mixer all disappeared since last week. So I had to reset them up real quick. Thankfully, I did all the pre-work, so I had everything kind of situated and sorted the way I wanted it to. So that was good, but I still had to get it all actually finally set up, so that was kind of a bitch. And I'm taking a look right now. I'm trying to find, I forgot what I was trying to find, chat. There's something. Hey, hello, Wiggum. How's it going, bud?
There's something I need to do.
I don't know what I need to do. There's something I was looking at. Oh yeah, now I know. So my mixer, is that what I need to change? Yeah, channel, no. Yeah, no. Settings. Yeah, there we go. Channel 1 is my mic. Channel 2 is my music. Channel 3 is the system. Channel 4 is the headphones. I don't think I need my headphones there. I want that to be my sampler. Then we need to change the lights.
What's up?
Yo, who was that? I heard a what's up, but I didn't see well, that's Landmark with the what's up. What's up, Landmark? Hey, Emily. How y'all doing? Sounds are off. They are not off. Oh, sounds are off. I got you. Thank you for that. Samples. Where do I change my icon? Change that to that guy, I guess. Whatever. Okay, let's save that. Okay, so let's test that. So now, if I play this music right here, should hear music. Should be able to turn it up really loud. Oh, snap. That's a pretty thing, chat. It's a really pretty thing. This is gonna be horrible, but
Hey, you guys.
it's not quite a sloth voice thing, but you know, it's what I got right now. Cool. All right. So we've got live podcast recording tonight. Thank you guys for showing up. I know it's a little bit earlier than we normally do. And I do have a commitment at 7 o'clock. It is apparently D&D weekend. I didn't think it was, but I guess it is. So I'm going to be doing that at 7 o'clock. So we got to wrap up a little bit early. Well, not early, but you know, wrap up by 7-ish or so. Yeah, so that's the plan for tonight. Landmark is on the line. Landmark, B, Brian, you guy. Are you there? Are you out there? What's going on? Oh, there you are. There you are. You guys hear Landmark? Is he sounding okay? Let me check my settings here. So I'm showing up at -20, -15. Okay, why don't you say something, B? Oh, you're not coming through my thing. They can't hear you. Routing. I know why. Because I didn't do you to... Wait. No, I need you to go through there. Okay. Say something, B.
Test. I was laughing. Could you hear me laughing? There's breaking news.
What's the breaking news? Let me turn game up a little bit. Okay, go for it.
Twitter has permanently banned real Donald Trump.
Oh, damn. I like it. Do we have to add that to the list of stuff we're talking about?
I don't know.
I don't know if we got time.
I think that'll be the end, probably.
Yeah.
Although it's just the beginning, apparently.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out how to intro this. This is going to be a crazy ass week. Maybe I'll just
I know
intro
how
it
to
straight.
intro it.
Do you want to intro it?
Sure.
Okay. All right. 10 years too late. You ain't kidding. All right. I'm ready. Are you ready? Are we ready?
Let's take
Let me
a
switch
quick
to my
look
podcast
here.
screen here, first of all. Hey, look at that. So pretty. Oh, look at the topics. I didn't update them. God damn it. Where's my topics thing? Topics. There we go. I got to redo the topics list. Although really, we know what it's going to be. Oh, look, you got a topic list thing right there. Either you or Wiggum. Someone did that. That was great. How huge is that? Oh, that's really huge. That actually works right like that, I think. Probably a little bit small, but I think we can make it work. We'll see how much we can get to this chat. As you can imagine, there's one topic that takes a little bit of priority over everything else. I'm sure I don't have to say it, but NFL playoffs start tomorrow. So that was a joke, chat. You can laugh. It's okay.
Mitch Trubisky, come on, Trash Binsky. He's got to do it.
Just wait. I got a great nugget on our friends the Chipmunks. So
okay.
we'll save that.
I see you.
All right, why don't we go ahead and jump in, Wiggum? I know you had mentioned wanting to share some of the links. Were you going to do that while we're live and going through this? Because if so, there is a second spreadsheet in that folder, not in the run sheet folder, but the one before that, the main we random folder. It's called DP21. You can assume whatever you want. What that actually was supposed to be is EP21 for episode 21, but I typoed it, and I was just too damn busy and too damn lazy to fix it. So it's still DP21. Take that to mean whatever you want. I think it means someone is going to have a party.
I'm a 12-year-old at heart.
Yeah, someone's having a party. Play off whatever all you would like. Okay, well, we're going to start off with the Washington stuff, and that's going to be in that DP21. So if you want to pull some of the links from there, and then time permitting, because we'll see. I mean, that's too big of a topic not to spend some time on. So time permitting, then we'll switch over to the episode 21 run sheet. So hopefully that makes sense. If you run into issues, let me know. And if you can't share the links, that's fine too. Cool. And B, you're going to do the intro.
Yep.
I'm going to hit record on the old Zenycaster and hit record on the old OBS or OBS, whatever. And, what do I need to do? Nothing. You just do the intro, I hit the thing, and then you do the thing. Okay, I'm good. Whenever you're ready, man.
All right, we're going to do it. 1, 2, 3. Hello, and welcome to We Random, episode 21. We've made it into January. Things are great. Things are... Wait, what was that? There was something really big that went down in Washington, D.C. this week? Well, fuck. I guess we'll have to talk about that next. And just so all of you know, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the podcasters only. They do not necessarily represent or reflect the policy or position of their employers. Please listen to this podcast at your own discretion. Viewer discretion should be advised, because I think I'm going to say these motherfuckers a lot. We'll talk to you next.
Almost Qualified Productions. We're 3 beers in. Time for you to catch up.
We didn't talk about who was going to take over this part, so I'm going to do this. Welcome to We Random, episode 21. My name is Sconzi Big C Christopher. Call me really whatever you want, and I am joined, as always, by my buddy Brian. Hey, Brian, I get to say that this week. Say hi to the people.
Hello, people.
We're shaking everything up this week, and it's been a crazy week. It's the first week of 2021. Brand new year after all the crazy garbage that we got in 2020, and oh wait, we kind of got worse garbage in 2021. So it's off to a great start, everybody. We're gonna shake things up a little bit. After all, we are a random podcast, and we both felt that the stuff that's happening in Washington D.C. Takes on a precedent. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, and time permitting, we're gonna jump into some other fun stuff, and then of course we always have Brian's favorite part at the end.
Random rankings.
Those random rankings, and that was probably way too quiet. We're gonna try it again.
Random rankings.
That sounds a whole hell of a lot better. Okay, so we're gonna have that at the end as well, and we'll kind of wrap things up with a bit of a bow, and hopefully, as much as we talk about some garbage stuff early on, we can put a bow on it, and we can look ahead with sunglasses or something. I don't know. We can look to brighter times. So B, do you want to go ahead and jump in and explain some of the stuff that's going on and give us a high level, and we can bounce off of that and start yammering?
I sure do. So, what we knew coming into this week is that the Chicago Bears made the NFL playoffs, and we thought for a while that that was going to be the number one thing that we talked about, how Mitchell Trubisky, backpedaled his way into the playoffs. But then the day of Wednesday, January 6th, happened. So, Wednesday, January 6th is the day that everyone had been kind of waiting for and thinking about because that was the day that the votes for the Electoral College were going to be reviewed and certified so that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris could be basically confirmed as the president and vice president of the United States. So that was kind of the background of everything. And getting started in that, there was a rally in Washington, D.C. that was a Save America rally where supporters of Donald Trump and the Republican Party were coming to Washington to basically protest the election and election fraud and to, stand up for their right to protest. Now, I want to preface this because, again, we have to be fair, right? Individuals do have the right to gather, they have the right to protest peacefully, they have the right to do all of these things,
Hey,
just
Brian,
as anyone else.
they don't have the right to be assholes, do they? Do they have the right to do that?
Well, that's where we're getting to,
Oh,
right?
okay,
So
all
they
right.
have the right to the peaceful part. So the peaceful part kind of ended though when the rally started and there were things said such as, you need to fight like hell or you're not going to have a country. And these individuals were also told to go to the Capitol to um, give the message to the Republican lawmakers. And go to the Capitol they did. So there were individuals from this protest who went to this rally and then they marched to the Capitol. And what happened at the Capitol is that there was such a substantial crowd of individuals who were protesting that the police were overwhelmed. These individuals tore down the different kind of barricades and things like that that were supposed to prevent them from being able to get to the Capitol. And they actually breached the Capitol during the sessions of the Senate and the House to halt the counting of the votes. So what happened is that these individuals got into the Capitol building. They were taking pictures with things. They were looting things apparently from different congressional offices. There was a woman who was shot by the police of the Capitol. There were officers who sustained injuries. There were also rioters who had medical emergencies. So this was a really big deal. And it kind of became a national story and an international story because this is something that hasn't happened in this country for decades, that someone who's not authorized to go into the Capitol was able to get into the Capitol. And there's a lot of things that we want to talk about. We want to talk about, how this happened and what that looks like. We want to talk about people's reactions. We want to talk about how things went with the confirming of the votes. And then we want to talk about what's next, because obviously it's going to be good to have all of these discussions, but we also want to look at, what does all of this mean? How do we move forward? What does this mean to us? Because no matter whether we like it or not, this type of thing is going to be with us for a while, and we need to figure out how to deal with it. What are your thoughts? Did I get what you were hoping for there, Sconzi, or what other stuff do you want to add to that before we start jumping in piece by piece here?
No, I think you covered it kind of as a whole. There's so many things that go into this, right? There's so many different pieces. There's the actual whole mob and the insurrection or whatever you want to call it, charging into the Capitol. I mean, there's that part of it. There's the actual Congress themselves and the way that they reacted, the way that they kind of led into this. There's Trump and all of his bullshit. There's all the people and the aftermath. There's people resigning. There's all sorts of things that are happening. So I think you did a good job of giving us kind of an overview of kind of what had happened, and I think we can dive into some of the specifics.
Definitely. So, is there a particular area or a place that you want to start with this here?
Well, no, I guess where I would start is just the act itself, right? So if we kind of look at things leading up to this, and I'm not going to go all the way back to like 5 years ago when the jackass in office decided he was going to run for president, and all of this stuff kind of started. But I think you could definitely draw a line all the way through, and it's a line that's gone up as we've gotten closer to this moment in time. But I think if we go back even just a few weeks, the fact that Trump just keeps, let's just go a few months, right? Ever since the election, he's been hounding on this, and he's been building up this base of, let's be honest, fucking crazy ass right wingers and, fucking militia people. He's been building this up to this point, and then he just keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And you keep seeing all these little things that he drops, right? All these little tidbits that he's dropping to these people. What was that? Stand by and be ready, or whatever the hell that was. Just those little things that he just drops in there, right? And people kind of brush it off, or you look at that one individual thing and you go, oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? But this shit adds up, right? And it just keeps building these people up. For weeks now, these people have been talking about this openly and planning for it. Why the hell the Capitol Police weren't ready for it is mind-boggling. And the fact that this is one of the articles that we've got in there too, is 3 days before this whole thing happened, they were contacted, and I don't remember who it was, the FBI or feds or somebody contacted them and said, hey, do you want some help? They said, no, we got this. They didn't have it. They were super, super outnumbered. Not to mention the fact that you totally should have had the National Guard out there, right? This was a failure from step one. And then you got cops that are just letting people in, waving people in. I get it. I watched a video today, and I didn't realize this was the video of the woman getting shot, but like the leading up to it, there were 3 cops standing in front of the door. 3, count them, 1, 2, 3. And there had to have been, just in that little tiny hall, 20, 30, 40 people standing there. And there was one specific guy, and I hope to hell they find out who this fucking guy is, because I would like to meet him and punch him in his fucking stupid ass face. But he's standing right in front of the cop in the middle. And then on either side of the cop is windows in the door, because there's 2 doors that goes in. And he's just like right in the cop's face while his arm is off to the side, and he's punching this window. Like, as aggressive as you can possibly be without actually putting hands on this guy. The woman who ended up getting shot was right in the front, yelling and screaming right in people's faces. And there's, like I said, 20, 30, 40 people, and God knows how many hundreds behind them. What were these cops supposed to do? What were they supposed to do? I mean, we already know one cop got killed because he got beat the hell up, right? That's what would have happened. That's what could have happened to these people. And it was really telling, because in the video, the one person who was shooting it was like, hey, we just want to get inside. We don't want to hurt you. You guys should leave. And they fucking left. And I don't know that I can blame them, because they were seriously and completely outnumbered. They were not prepared for this. And I think there's a different angle at some of the cops that you see who are waving people in. Come on, let's go. Let's go. But the problem is they were just completely outnumbered. So I'm going to stop there, and then I'll let you share where you're at on some of that.
I mean, one of the biggest things that I am really challenged with this on is just looking at the whole comparison that people are making, right? And I think we want to save that for a further discussion. But one of the things that really strikes me about some of these things that have happened is, if we've looked at how this has been handled. For months, we've been told, hey, you need to respect the police. You need to have law and order. You need to not do these things. Yet there are these graphic images of these people fighting police and punching them and pushing them and doing all of the things that for months individuals said, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that, or that's, violent. But then what has also happened here is you have folks that are saying things like, why are you fighting back against me? I'm fighting for you, like to the police and then to reporters and things like that. There was someone, and I'm going to find this quote so that I can read it, because this honestly says a lot about one individual character. But I think the hard part about that is that there's multiple people in this world who likely think this way. And I think that's the scariest part of all, is that if one person thinks this way and is willing to say the quiet part out loud, how many other people were there in this, protest and in this riot who were also thinking the exact same thing. Right now, I'm trying to look through my specific things. There we go. The quote is, "This is not America," a woman said, her voice shaking. "They're shooting at us. They're supposed to shoot Black Lives Matter, but they're shooting the patriots." Now, I wanted to let that silence sit there because I want people to think about that and I want people to take that all in.
Sorry, I had to boo. That was horrible.
But like, this is the kind of stuff that doesn't necessarily make this a, oh, well, they were just like, this crosses that line, right? Like we talked about, people have their First Amendment rights, but to do these things that they did to the police, to do these things that they did to the Capitol, you are crossing that line from your right to going into a offensive state. And I think the hard part about this is, for a while, Donald Trump was basically praising them. He's like, this, he literally put out a tweet that said, "This is what happens when you steal the election from us. Remember this day." And until he had to come out and make that speech where people called him teleprompter Trump, like he never one time before that speech condemned what they did. He was like, "Oh, you need to be peaceful. Remember, we're the people of law and order, but remember this day," right? Like, that's the whole thing about Donald Trump that I get frustrated with. People always give him the benefit of the doubt. Well, he didn't mean it that way. He didn't say that. The thing about Donald Trump is, I'm going to be honest, he's not a fucking idiot. He means exactly what he says, exactly the way that he says it, and why he says it. He talks in code to his followers. His followers know that code and they know how to act based on what he's telling them.
So I'm going to cut in. I'm going to cut in because I'm going to disagree with you. He is 100% a fucking idiot. 100%. There isn't a molecule of intelligence in that guy's head. He's a fucking moron. But here's the thing. I would argue that the vast number of people that are these gung-ho people that are behind him, they're also fucking idiots. So he's just speaking another language. And it's a language that most of us don't quite understand. You know why? Because we're not fucking idiots. That's the difference. He is a fucking moron. He is not some genius that's coding messages to people. He's an idiot. He just so happens to speak on the emotional level that all these other people are on. And so they buy into it and they jump into it. And people with a little bit more intelligence try to write it off. Well, he didn't mean that. Or he was just joking. He was being sarcastic. But the idiots get it. I'm going to argue with you on that one.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying that he's smart, but what I'm saying is people will say, "Oh, well, he didn't mean those words that way." No, he did mean those words that way. It's not that he's bumbling over his words or he didn't know what to say.
No, I agree.
That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, he 100% meant what he said. He's the thing is, again, he's just a fucking idiot, and so he just says what he wants. But this is the, God, I hate to use this word, but this is the brilliance of Donald Trump, right? Is that he knows that he can push things. And I'm going to touch on this subject a little bit more, but he just pushes and pushes and pushes, right? And then when he gets that friction, he just takes a step back and say, "Oh, I didn't mean that. I really meant this. I didn't say that. I said this." And people give him the ability to do that. People back off. People don't hold him to the shit that he says. And so, like, if you've got a kid in your house, right, and the kid goes into the candy jar and grabs some M&Ms, and you say, "Whoa, kid, it's dinner time in 10 minutes. You can't have the M&Ms." And the kid puts them back and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that." And then the next day, the kid does that again, and you don't yell at him again. Eventually, you got to understand this kid just keeps pressing things, right? I don't know if that came out quite as eloquently as I wanted it to, but the point is he just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. And then when he gets called onto it, well, he backs up a little bit, but he still made it, 3/4 of the way where he wanted to go. He's still getting the message to these fucking idiot assholes who are out there following him, right? Because all he has to do is say, "You know what? Black people are horrible and I hate them." He didn't say that. Let's say he did, right? "I hate these people." Well, then someone's going to come up and say, "Oh my God, you can't say that. What's wrong with you?" And he's going to come back and say, "It was a joke. I didn't mean it that way, blah, blah, blah," whatever the case may be, right? But those idiot asshole racists that are on his side that are pumping it, they heard what he said. And it doesn't matter what he said afterwards. They're going to deny it. They're going to ignore it. They don't care what it is. But they heard that one thing, and that's what they wanted. And that's what he's so good at doing, is he feeds those nuggets, and these people buy this up. And even if he has to try to retract, even if they have to put out a press conference, even if he just gets his feet held to the fire for the little tiny bit that it happens, he's the president. He's not going to get, his legs cut out from underneath him. He's still got his message across. And that's the one thing that he continues to do. And I will add, and then I'll shut up again, that's what's going to make him so dangerous moving forward. And we'll get on that a little bit later too, because I got some feelings there.
Right, but I think that's part of this discussion, right? So we've kind of talked about some of the groundwork. Like there were individuals who were able to breach the Capitol, and they were in there like messing stuff up and taking pictures and all of that. But then one of the things that came out of this was people talking about the racial disparity between when there was the Black Lives Matter protest in Washington, D.C. over the summer and this. So people were posting the viral photographs of, National Guard and military's men and all of these other men and women that were lining the steps, literally lining the steps of the Capitol building when there was the Black Lives Matter protest. And then they basically sent Paul Blart out there to police this rally. So talking about how underprepared they were for this rally. And there's a big question of why did they feel like these two things are very different? Why was there not the same amount of preparation and due diligence put into being prepared for this versus being prepared for that? And there's a couple different things that I want to talk about. One is I want to talk about how the Confederate flag has finally made it into the Capitol, but I also want to talk about the remarks from Joe Biden. So which one of those do you want me to start with?
I'm going to leave it up to you.
All right, so I think it makes sense to start with the Confederate flag because Joe Biden probably will allow us to transition into another topic and kind of get onto the spin of how can we move forward from this. But the Confederate flag finally made it into the Capitol, and there were pictures of individuals flying and holding and posing with the Confederate flag in the Capitol. Now, the thing about the Confederate flag is the Confederate flag represents lots of different things to lots of different people, right? Like some people look at the Confederate flag and they see pride. Other people look at the Confederate flag and they see racism. Now, one of the things that I talked to someone about and they told me is if you think about the Confederate flag in some people's eyes is very similar to the swastika. And some people are going to go back and say, oh, no, that's not a fair comparison. But if you think about how the individuals were treated by the Nazis, and you think about how slaves and other individuals were treated by slave owners and other folks in the Confederate States, how big of a jump is that really?
Well, I think when you look, if you want to look at things statistically, right? They didn't kill millions and millions of slaves in the South. I don't think. So if you look at things in that way, I can see people saying, "Whoa, hold on," but it goes beyond that, right? A flag is more representative of an ideology, and the ideology is very, very similar, right? So the ideology over in Germany was more around the Aryan nation and only the whites are good, et cetera, et cetera. In the South, it's more black people just aren't, they're not real human beings. Sure, there's some difference there, but it's pretty much the same thing. You are saying that one race of individuals is better than another, and the other race isn't, they're not human, they don't deserve to live, they don't deserve freedom, whatever the case may be. The ideology is incredibly, incredibly similar.
Yes, and just so we're clear, the person who told me this knows who they are. I just did not mention your name specifically on this podcast because I did not know if you wanted to be mentioned. If you would like me to mention you in particular in future episodes, please let me know.
Yeah, I think most people, I want to say everybody, but it's not because there's a lot of idiots out there, but most people can see the very blatant difference here, right? So a few months ago, there were Black Lives Matter protests, very close to where they're at just the other day, right? And our jackass in chief decided he wanted a photo op in front of a church. So what did they do? They sent a bunch of fucking cops out with tear gas and batons. They're beating fucking people who were peacefully protesting, getting the shit beat out of them. And they were black. Keep that in mind. Whereas now we've got all these fucking old white fat people who are charging the Capitol, and nothing. That one person got shot. One person. Now, I'm not saying that they should shoot people, right? Like the things need to be equal, but they don't need to be equal in the shoot everybody thing. And there's some people that I've seen on Twitter who are very, very open about the fact that, well, they should start shooting everybody. No, that's not the answer. I understand. As black people, they're upset and they're angry about the way that black people are being treated. I 100% get that, and I'm there with you. I am. But the answer isn't start shooting the white people too. The answer is stop fucking shooting people. That's the answer, right? But it's very, very clear that there's a difference. And multiple people have mentioned that. If they were black people on those steps, punching in windows, I'm sorry, but there would have been hundreds of dead people. Hundreds. So there is clearly and blatantly, like, we already know there's a race issue in this country, but it's just, you know, I almost want to say it's cherry on top, but there's going to be more of it. Let's just be honest.
Right. And I think that this is a good transition to what President-elect Joe Biden said. He said, no one can tell me if it had been a Black Lives Matter protest, they wouldn't have been treated very differently to the mob of thugs who stormed the Capitol. And he added, it's totally unacceptable. Now,
Yeah.
the thing about Biden is he ran on a platform of bringing people together and
Mhm.
unity. And then people attacked him and said, well, what the fuck, man? Like, how is you saying that unity? But if we think about it, the number one thing that we have to be able to do to make any type of change is to acknowledge our strengths and to acknowledge our flaws, because we need to acknowledge both our strengths, our flaws, and our areas for improvement before we can do anything. So if no one said, hey, you treated this type of individual one way and you're treating this type of individual another way, if no one says anything about that, the same fucking shit happens. You know, this really reminds me of the thing that happened in Kenosha, where there's the guy who killed two people with a machete,
Oh,
runs in
God.
the street, and he's trying to get the police to shoot him. The police don't shoot him. Jacob Blake maybe has a knife somewhere in a 50-yard vicinity and gets 5 in the back. Like, this is the kind of thing that we have to point out, because number one, yes, this may be an independent actor's decision. One individual might decide to discharge their gun and one individual might not. But when we're looking at simple statistics, right? If you see that this is happening more often than this other thing is happening, like, we're playing on a different ball field. And that's where I think Joe Biden's in the right to mention it, because if he doesn't mention it, we're going to go through the same stuff. And either way, people are going to be mad. If he doesn't mention it, then, you know, individuals who have faced this disparity are going to feel frustrated that their struggle is not acknowledged. But by mentioning it, people are feeling challenged because they're like, oh, well, what do you mean? Like, but we have to talk about these things to make any real substantial change. That's where I'm coming from. What are your thoughts, Christopher?
Yeah, and I think you know, part of it too, and this is something that I will admit I struggle with mightily. But we know that in order to really push through change, people have to understand that change is needed, right? And there is a whole swath of people in this country who don't believe there's anything wrong with the way black people are being treated. In fact, some of them probably want them treated worse. So that's what I think this kind of goes towards is, let's just explain things are different. Like, for 4 years, as we've gone through this huge Black Lives Matter issue, Trump never said a goddamn thing. In fact, he said things on the opposite side, right? They are good people. Fuck you. He never said anything. So now we've got our president, fuck the to be or whatever that official term is, in waiting or whatever, standing up and saying people are being treated differently and this is not okay. Period. End of statement. Now, this is where my struggle part comes. How many of those assholes who are charging into the Capitol, who probably hate black people, let's be honest, and I know I'm making assumptions, but I'm probably not completely wrong. How many of them do you think that is going to change their mind? I mean, first of all, they're loyal to their Fuhrer, so they're not going to listen to what Joe Biden has to say anyway. But on top of that, is this going to change their mind? Like, maybe one, maybe two, maybe? I don't know, probably not. But the point is, and again, this is my struggle, you still have to try. You still have to push to try to get that acknowledgement and get that education across, get the information across as best you can. And I think that's what he's trying to do. like I said, I think a lot of the people who are fighting against this, a lot of the people who don't see this as a problem, you're probably never going to change their mind, but you're definitely not going to if you don't try. And that's what I think this was. It's kind of, let's acknowledge it. This is not right. Now let's go ahead and try to fix it. And hopefully we're going to try to fix it.
Right. And I think this kind of goes into this next segment. And this is where I'm going to drop my first "these motherfuckers" of the night. But so what happened after the Capitol finally was cleared? And again, these individuals were allowed to go home. They were not arrested at that point. They were not shot. They were not killed. They were allowed to go home. But the Congress and the House went back into session. And then some of these motherfuckers who were planning to buy into Trump's voter fraud allegations and things like that, like this, what is his name? Josh Hawley. And there's the other guy that was wearing his mask well below his nose and his mouth, that like he just needed to be done. But the thing about this is there were enough people who decided to withdraw their complaints that they were able to make it through this. And that in itself to me says a lot. It's like, were you just grandstanding to be in the good graces of your buddy and to be in the good graces of your party? You know, and then there's these other folks that are continuing to grandstand when they know that they don't have the required things. And this is an area where I will be honest, I will give Michael Pence his due. He officiated this in the best way possible, because when somebody stood up and said, "Hey man, I want to, you know, dissent that these votes are fraudulent and this and that and the other," he said, "Hey, do you have this signed document with a signed, you know, petition from another person from the Senate?" And they go, "Well, no." And then he's like, "Well, we're on to Cincinnati," because he basically turned into Bill Belichick and was like, "Nope, we're not doing this. We're out." And that is the kind of thing that needs to happen to these people, because the scary part, and the part that scares me, is there are these people in the House and there are these people in the Senate who aren't Donald Trump. Donald Trump's entire MO for the entirety of his life is to say the quiet part out loud. He does not know what the quiet part is. He just says it to be saying it, and that's his gimmick. Josh Hawley and all these other folks, they know not to say the quiet part out loud. And that is what scares me, is that people buy into this bullshit from motherfuckers like this guy and continue to propagate this stuff that's going to continue to divide our country.
I just want to point out that Landmark dropped 2 motherfuckers there. So
I warned you in the open, people. I warned you.
I can this. I'm gonna get a little bit out there on this one. People are gonna think I'm crazy, and that's fine. But you just wait, and I'll be right in the end, probably. So I understand you taking the stance of, you know, Mike Pence deserves some recognition for the way that he kind of held things down. Mitch McConnell, believe it or not, actually kind of stepped away from Trump. Mitt Romney had some things to say that kind of stepped away from Trump. Fuck all of them. All of them. I'm not giving them any goddamn due. They're not getting any appreciation. They're not getting any claps on the back. They're getting a fuck all from me. And let me tell you why. This shit's been going on for 4 fucking years. For 4 fucking years, they knew that this guy was a motherfucking lunatic that was leading us into fucking horrible places. They knew this, and they pushed for it, and pushed for it, and pushed for it. And now, when there's 2 fucking weeks left before this fucker leaves office, I'm supposed to feel that you're a good person because now you've got a fucking conscience? Go fuck yourself. That's like putting in your 2 weeks notice at work and then a week and a half later saying, "Oh, I object to what you're doing and I'm going to leave." Fuck you. You're going to leave anyway. You were going to lose your goddamn job. All these people resigning after this Capitol thing to say, "Oh, I can't deal with it." Fuck you. You helped this shit go happen. You helped this shit. Fuck all of you. I have no chill for any of these people. None. Because they're the reason we're in this place. And this is where I get a little crazy. So Josh Hawley, this fucking guy. This guy scares the shit out of me. First of all, he's a fucking idiot too. Except not really. He's super educated. That's what scares me. So for 4 years, we have dealt with this clown in office. And I say clown very purposefully. Because this guy, let's be honest, he has been a clown since day one. We have laughed at the way he's acted. We laugh at the way he looks. We laugh at the way he talks. We laugh at that stupid fucking hair. Like, dude, just wear a hat. We don't want to see that bullshit. We laugh at him because he's a fucking clown. The entire world laughs at this fucking guy. But you know what he did? Is he really pushed the boundaries of what's okay, what's acceptable, what people can get away with. I mean, he's really pushed that super far extreme right agenda. I would even argue the racist agenda. He has pushed that further than anyone could have ever dreamed. And yes, he didn't get completely to where he wanted to be, but he kept moving it over to the right, to the right, to the right. Right now, there's all these people that have swung to the right. And now the clown's gone, the guy that everybody just kind of laughed at. But we're still way to the right. We still got all those fucking crazy extremists that are out there. And now we've got fucking Josh Hawley, who looks the part. He speaks the part. He speaks intelligently. He is somebody, like, he has ambitions to be president, maybe to be Fuhrer, who knows. He's got these ambitions, and he is somebody that could step up into that role, and he's not going to be ridiculed. He's going to be taken much more seriously than what Donald Trump was ever taken. That's the guy that scares the shit out of me. And I know that it's crazy to think, you know, we had an attempted coup. I don't think anybody could argue that. We haven't mentioned that word once, but this was absolutely an attempted coup. And now we got this motherfucker who's going to step in and is much scarier than Trump as far as I'm concerned. And on top of that, I was going to save this craziness for later, but Donald Trump's going to be worse. He's going to be much more dangerous out of office than he was in office. And here's why I say that. Everyone knows there's this underground right-wing extremist Parler app, right? Where a lot of this shit that happened this week was planned. Nobody's going to monitor him there. Nobody's going to be watching him constantly. Not the way that they do right now, right? This shit could very well just be beginning. And I know that I sound like some kind of, you know, left-wing nut conspiracy theorist, but we've already got people in this country who felt ballsy enough to break into our fucking nation's capital when our entire Congress was there. Our entire Congress was there, and they felt compelled and ballsy enough to break into that building. Now, you're going to tell me they don't feel like they could do that again? They're already talking about it. They're already talking about the inauguration. Like, they are ready. They're talking about, like, bringing all the militias that they can to the inauguration. You know, like, we are so close to this turning into some. And I know people say, well, that can't happen. Well, that can't happen. Well, people would have said the same thing about Hitler back in the 40s or 30s, whenever it was, right? But that shit did happen. We are so close to that happening. And now we've got Trump, who's kind of their de facto leader. Like, he's their official leader right now. And he's going to be stepping into more of the shadows. We got this guy like Josh Hawley, who is pushing the same agenda. He's like neck and neck, like elbow to elbow with Trump. He's still going to be in power to some degree. He's getting a lot of push behind him. This is scary, scary shit. And that's even besides the fact that we still have all these Republicans in office, and a lot of them, not all of them for sure, are pushing that same kind of bullshit. Like, they've been doing this for years. So I will gladly take the conspiracy theorist nut job title. People, this is fucking scary. This is really scary. This shit could pop off at any moment. So,
But I mean, it's not though, because if you look again in Donald Trump's last tweet before Twitter fired him into the sun, he said, "Our journey is just beginning." He told his followers that their journey with him is just beginning. And if you look online, again, journalists, people hate journalists. And I have a really big beef with that. And I think I'm going to make that my extra point. But if you look online, places like Parler and on the Donald and lots of these other online websites, these people were planning what they were going to do in the Capitol for weeks. This was in full view. None of this was on Signal. None of this was behind closed doors. You could go Google thedonald.com and go on that message board and see exactly what these people wanted to do. And nobody thought any iota to try to look at it, to stop it, to prepare for it. And that's the thing about Donald Trump, is that the scary part is that he now, even though he's leaving office, he can mentor somebody like this Josh Hawley guy. He can get all of his supporters to say, if you want America to be great, you go and vote for this guy. It's literally the Vince McMahon playbook, right? Because in WWE, when The Rock retired, what did Vince McMahon do? Vince McMahon fucking put The Rock in the ring with Roman Reigns and said, Roman Reigns is your next guy. If you love The Rock, you're going to love Roman Reigns. And the fans shit on that, but Donald Trump supporters are not going to shit on that. And that's what Donald Trump can do for whoever this next kookadoo is that wants to go out there and pick up the Make America Great Again banner. And I think that is what is super scary here, because he has as much or as little of a future as he wants. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that I don't know that this got enough publicity, but if you think about what happened in the Capitol, on that same day, there were active protests in Atlanta, in Michigan, and other places where there were individuals who were Trump supporters who went to those capitals. The individual in Atlanta or in Georgia had to be evacuated from his capital because there were over 100 Trump supporters at that Capitol building, right? Like, this is our, unfortunately, new normal, because these people have been activated by Donald Trump and by Republicans who, by their silence, are complicit in running his agenda.
You know, it's weird. I just got this flash of like those super crazy ass right wing talk show people, and I don't think that we're the opposite side of that, but I kind of got that feeling. Okay, so one more thing I want to bring up, and then I want to ask you a question. So you brought up a great point, and as soon as you said it, it like my hair started on fire, and it still looks better than Donald Trump's. This was all done out in the open. The FBI had to have known this was happening, right? It's so easy to find this information. So, chat, remember this the next time they try to come for your Signal app. They don't need your encrypted fucking stuff because these people are too stupid to use that anyway. It's just out in the open. So don't give me that bullshit that you need fucking Signal in order to stop fucking, you know, you need to break the encryption so you can stop shit that's going to happen. You clearly can't find out that shit's going to happen when it's out in the open. So maybe deal with that first. Let's deal with that and then go from there. But Brian, here's a question: where do we go from here? What's next? Let's try to put a bow on it, and let's try to look at what is the next year, 2 years, 3 years. What does that look like? What do we need to be prepared for, and what can we do to try to be a positive influence on the change that needs to happen?
So I think the number one thing right now, so we know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been, confirmed as the president and vice president. I've honestly told a lot of my friends, I have a few friends who are conservative and I have a few friends that are liberal. I've told everybody the Democratic Party has 2 years to prove themselves to the midline Republican. What we really need here is we need to be able to have open and honest discussions. We need to have the honest discussion that there are inequities in our country between the way that people are treated by police, between the way that people are treated as a society, and we need to be able to smooth that out. And we need to find ways to do that make sure that each individual has equal access to the things that they need to be successful. Because it's not about giving people, oh, you're disadvantaged, we're going to give you money. That's not going to fix things. It's kind of this thing. My wife talked about something that she learned in one of her cultural diversity classes. If you think about, people are trying to watch something, but there's a giant fence in their way. There's a tall person who can see over the fence, and there's two people of different heights who can't see over the fence. Somebody might just say, well, give each of them boxes so they both can see over the fence. Well, now if 3 people can see over the fence, each person has been given a different advantage or disadvantage. One person's box is taller than the other. The other person doesn't have a box. The biggest thing that we need to do is we need to work on the fence. We don't need to try to give people, well, you get this, and you get this, and what you guys got isn't even, but hopefully it makes everything even in the end. We need to try to remove the barrier so that each person can have unfettered access to what they need to be successful. Because if they can try it, if they have the motivation, the drive, the skills, the talent, then they should be able to go do it. Those are the things that we need to start working on, and we need to start having those conversations. And if I bring this back, for example, to the police, we've noticed how differently the Black Lives Matter protesters were treated than these individuals who called themselves the Patriots. We've noticed how differently that individuals not of color are treated by police than how Black people are treated. We want to establish a standard for how all people are treated. So whether you're white, black, brown, heterosexual, homosexual, transgender, whatever you are treated the same. And that is what we need to strive for. And that's going to be really hard. And that's going to require a lot of conversation. And it's going to require a lot of people to look inside and say, wow, I really have had it pretty good. And it's okay that you've had it really good. Or it's going to require a lot of people to look inside and say, man, I've had it rough. And I'm sorry that you've had it rough. But we have to start somewhere. And we have to do this analysis to move forward. Because if everybody points a finger and says, well, don't take away my shit, or don't give this other person some stuff, or everything is fine, we're never going to move forward. We need to start with small things. And I don't know what those small things are, but I think having a president who is a white male who is willing to come out and say, hey, these Black people have been treated really poorly and that's unacceptable, that's a hell of a start.
Yeah, I this is where I switch into my pessimistic mode, because I'd love to be positive and I'd love to sit up here and blow sunshine and rainbows up people's ass, but I think where it has to start, and I'm going to get back to the pessimist part here in a second, where this has to start in my mind is people have to stop being so polarized. We are polarized on politics. We're polarized on religion. We're polarized on, gender and sexuality and race. And we're polarized on everything. And not just, I have a different feeling than you. It's not just, I don't think gay people should get married, and I think that you think gay people should get married. It is, you think that gay people should be married. I think gay people are horrible and terrible people, and it doesn't exist, and they're just faking, and they just want privilege, blah, 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 right? We're so polarized. And on top of that, people are so stuck in their views. There's no back and forth. There's no conversation. People are completely stuck in their place. And I think that's a problem. Now, on some things, me personally, I will readily admit I am not going to fucking budge. Like, if you say Black people are treated just fine by the police, we're going to have fucking issues because you're fucking wrong. And you are wrong about something that is a human right. Something that is, it's the epitome of importance, right? We cannot have a conversation about that. If you don't agree that people are equal, if you don't agree that people can have different sexualities and different genders, if you don't agree that people of different races, that everybody needs to be treated the same, we're not going to agree, period. It's just not going to happen. But people can have different political views, right? Like, somebody can believe that the budget needs to be handled one way, and someone else can believe the budget needs to be handled another way. But the problem is nowadays, and I'm going to go back to a concept that I've used a lot here, and the problem is everyone is really stuck on winning. We've got this huge Charlie Sheen addiction where we have to be the winners. And you see it everywhere, right? You see it mostly in sports. You see, that's the most obvious place, right? Because God knows I've said things about the fucking Cubs, the worst team in the history of baseball. They should be demolished and tear down fucking Wrigley Field because they're garbage and nobody ever wants to go there anyway. But the point is, that's where you see it, right? It's like, you're not allowed to be a Cubs fan because I hate the Cubs, and no, that's fine. If you want to be a Cubs fan, that's fine. If you want to go to a horrible stadium every year and watch a team play baseball, that's fine. But the point is, there has to be give and take. And until that polarization is gone, until people can actually have a conversation, until people can kind of bridge that divide and come closer together, I don't see anything else changing because people are just so riveted into their position and we're so separated. I don't see anything changing until that changes. And now the pessimism part, I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't see how we can pull that back. I think we've gone so far that direction that barring anything super extreme, and I'm talking tear down the government, civil war, I'm talking like country collapse, that extreme, I don't see that changing. I just don't. And I think that people live in their echo chamber online and in their friend groups. I think they don't listen to anybody. I think they're just so stuck on being right that I don't know that we ever get across that. I don't think we can fix that. So I would love to say that we can. I would love to say that someday we're going to get past that. I just don't see it.
And I guess I'm going to say two things. One, I agree with you, but I also want to disagree with you because the thing that I disagree with is the fact that we as human beings are not born this way. If you think about young children, they don't care who they're interacting with. A young child will run up to a white child, a black child, a child who believes X, Y, and Z. They just see another child and they're like, ooh, fun, right? We as adults, because of our life history and our teachings and our learnings, have put ourselves in this way. Young children learn how to trust anyone and everyone. We as adults are cynical. We as adults are pessimistic. We as adults are stuck in our own echo chambers. But what it's going to take is people to trust. What it's going to take is people to take a leap of faith and to try to make olive branches. And I'm hopeful that's what the Democratic Party does. Because I will tell you, if the Democratic Party comes out and goes, you know what, all of you Republicans, fuck you. We're going to do all of this stuff that you didn't want. In 4 years, we're going to be back in the same place. But if the Democratic Party comes out and says, look, we're going to have to do a lot of hard work and we need to work together and we need your input and you might not get everything you want. Democrats, you might not get everything you want. But together, we can do anything that we think is possible. I think that's the only way that we might see incremental change. And this incremental change isn't going to be flipping a switch and it happens. This is going to be years in the making. This is going to be over 5 years and 10 years and 15 years because the goal is that if we can identify when things happen that they're unfair or that they're unjust, that's going to be a win. Because right now we have senators and people out there saying, Joseph Biden, why are you pointing this out? This is divisive and this is dismissive and this is wrong. If it's wrong to point out an inequity, then I don't want to be right. Because if I'm just going to live my life in my own little shadowed box where I don't point out when somebody's getting their face kicked in, then I'm a shitty fucking person and I don't want to be that person. And I hope that through these times, we have more people who are willing to stand up for what is right, because it's always better to stand up for what is right than to stand up for being right.
I think it's a great point, and I love your passion. And the chat room is very, very happy with what you're saying. So now let me tear it all down and wrap up this segment because we're running long. I'm going to use your words. You said children will learn to trust, right? Who do children learn from? I'd love to say they learn from their teachers and they learn from, their president and they learn from their friends. No, they learn from their parents. They learn from that immediate group. So a lot of these jackasses that are storming the Capitol, these jackasses that are protesting against Black Lives Matters protests, those fucking assholes who went to this Capitol and erected a motherfucking noose, what are they going to teach their kids? Are they going to teach their kids equality? Are they going to teach their kids that it's okay to have an open mind and to talk with people? Are they going to teach their kids that black people are okay? Because I'll bet you they're not. They're going to teach their kids the same fucking racist bullshit that they live on. The same bullshit that they're standing up for. The same bullshit that they were chanting when they were at the fucking Capitol. That's what they're going to teach their kids. Now, sure, maybe in 50 or 100 or 200 years, we can chip away at that. Maybe there's that one kid who has that very invigorating teacher in 3rd grade who tells them the story of, Martin Luther King Jr. And that kid says, wow, this is an inspirational person. I believe in this. And I know that, my friend who's a black boy, he's a great kid. You know what? I think my parents are wrong. Maybe there's one of those. Maybe there's 2. But it's going to take a very, very long time for us to attempt to work through that. And can we survive that? I mean, for Christ's sake, it took 4 years for people to be upset and angry to storming the goddamned United States Capitol building. 4 years. 4 years. So I love what you're saying, B, and I'm 100% there. I want there to be a rainbow at the end of the road. I want to be able to see things, in the sunshine. I want to be happy, and I want to say, what, love can conquer all. There's a lot of fucking hate out there, and it's just going to keep perpetuating itself. And so as much as I'd love to be the optimistic person here, I don't see it. And I don't know that we're going to survive to see it. I hope I'm wrong. But I want to put a bow on it. I'm gonna give myself the last word. We're already at pushing an hour. Before we jump into the random rankings, B, is there anything you want to throw your challenge flag, and have a quick conversation about, or do we just want to jump straight in?
I would say all of this stuff on the wheel is stuff that we can move to episode 22.
So make sure you tune in next week. All right. Well, is it time then?
Oh, it's time. Random rankings.
All right. Well, there we go. I'll let you introduce this, and then we'll see what we got.
Well, now that we have talked so much about things going on in Washington, D.C., we're going to talk about more that's going on in Washington, D.C. So, the NFL playoffs are here.
Yay, football.
Sconti and I will give our fearless predictions for who the 2021 Lombardi Trophy winner will be. And neither of us will answer COVID-19. I mean, that hopefully not, right? I mean, the Cleveland Browns might have something to say about that.
We'll see what happens.
So what we're going to do is we're going to make these picks today. This is Friday. So for those of you who listen to the podcast, you get this on Sunday. So you already know that Mitch Trubisky has thrown a game-losing interception. But for those of you who are on our stream, we're going to make these picks, and we're going to track through the Super Bowl who had the better prognostications. And it probably won't be me, but we're still going to do our best.
That's right.
We will start with the AFC wild card, and then we'll move to the NFC wild card, and we'll just kind of keep bouncing from there. So this one doesn't require a wheel. It doesn't require stating who goes first, but I have a question for you, Christopher.
What do you got?
We have the Buffalo Bills versus the Indianapolis Colts. That is Josh Allen versus P. River, Phillip Rivers. Who you got in that game?
Well, if I liked crybabies, if I liked people who have a really stupid throwing motion, if I liked people who bitch and scream at everybody on their team if things don't go perfectly for them, if I wanted a quarterback who people consider one of the greatest ever, even though he's garbage, then I would pick the Indianapolis Colts. But I'm not, because I don't want any of that crap. Now I'm all about good old Josh Allen and those Buffalo Bills.
All right. Well, I'm with you. I picked the Buffalo Bills in that game, so we got a clean sweep for We Random. We both think the Bills are going to win. So we are on to not Cincinnati, but we're on to Cleveland. The number 3 ranked Pittsburgh Steelers face the number 6 Cleveland Browns. Who do you have in this matchup, Christopher?
I'm typing. Which one are we looking at? We're looking at Pittsburgh and Cleveland?
Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
I really want to go with Cleveland. I really do. Just because Cleveland is kind of one of those, I kind of have one or two teams that I kind of root for a little bit ish. I would never say I'm a fan of multiple teams. I think that's stupid. But there's kind of those perpetual loser teams that I kind of have an eye for. Buffalo Bills have been one, and the Cleveland Browns have been one. I really want to choose Cleveland because of that. I kind of like Baker a little bit, even though he kind of sucks. And I really don't like Pittsburgh, although I really like Mike Tomlin. But in the end, as much as I want to root for that running game in Cleveland, I just think Pittsburgh's going to take this.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with this game is that the Cleveland Browns have really been hit hard with COVID-19. They practiced for the first time today because their facility was closed down because their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, tested for COVID, and there were several other players who tested positive for COVID or were close contacts. So they are going to be without several players due to COVID. But you know what? I am taking the Browns because the thing about the Steelers is the Steelers are toast. Like the Steelers were running out of gas the last couple weeks of the season. Now, again, Big Ben might end up being playoff Big Ben and doing what he does, but I think I'm going to take Cleveland because it would just be a good story. And plus, I wouldn't really be sad seeing Pittsburgh lose. Like, I love Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is just like a take no crap kind of coach, and I like that, but I'm going to pick the Browns here.
Well, it's also kind of one of those things where Pittsburgh is like always around. It's just kind of nice to root against them, let's be honest. All right, so why don't you go first with the next one? What is it, Tennessee, Baltimore?
Yep, the next one is Tennessee, Baltimore. So we have the Yeti, Derrick Henry, versus Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. So the Tennessee Titans are going to be at home as the number 4 seed. Baltimore is number 5. They're going to be going on the road. I have to go with Baltimore here because they've got Lamar, they've got J.K. Dobbins. We just have to hope that Lamar doesn't stop at Taco Bell before the game because I don't know that he has time for a 2-quarter number 2 like he did in that Monday night game. So he needs to stay away. He needs to not run for the border. He needs to not have any topper sticks, and he needs to stay on the field because that Titans defense has been shredded all year, and I think that he can do it. The thing about Baltimore too is their offense has been really hot over the last 4 to 5 weeks. They have a very small pie in terms of their passing offense, but they've been very efficient in their passing offense.
Yeah, I'm surprised that neither of us are going with Tennessee. I think Tennessee is, I don't know, Tennessee is a pretty decent team, but yeah, I just think I think Lamar is rolling right now. Like he's just got it going. I don't see Tennessee stopping him and the team.
Yeah, Tennessee is good. Like Tennessee has a very defined plan. Like they're going to pound you, and then Ryan Tannehill is just going to kind of game manage and hopefully keep things moving.
Yeah, Wiggum says he's going Tennessee. Well, good luck with that, Wiggum.
All right, Wiggum. So now we are moving to the fan favorite NFC Wildcard Megalodon Weekend. So I'm going to skip this one because I want to talk about this one last. So we'll start with the Washington football team and Alex Smith, leg still intact, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you got on that one, Christopher?
You know, I'm so happy for Alex Smith because, dude, that injury was so horrific. I mean, they at one point, they talked about how he might not be able to walk again or all that garbage. Like, it was a bad injury. So I love the fact that not only is he walking, he's playing, which is amazing. That said, I just don't see them beating Tampa Bay. I would love to see it. I would love to see Washington with their, 3.5 wins or whatever they had this year, knock off, overrated Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. But it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. If the Washington football team wasn't as injured as they are, I would definitely want to take them in this game. I mean, Alex Smith definitely isn't 100%. They've been talking about maybe he's going to split time with Taylor Heinicke, and I'm like, ooh, God, Taylor Heinicke. Not that he can be any worse than Nate Sudfeld, who my wife nicknamed Sandbag because he's as effective as one singular sandbag in a hurricane, and that's how they ended up being in the playoffs in the first place. But I think Tampa takes this one. I'd love to see Washington get the upset. The thing about Washington is their defense is fantastic. Chase Young is amazing.
Dude, he is so good. I would sell off any of my body parts for him to go to the Packers. Any of them.
What about your beard? I would ask about your beard, but your beard's just coming back in, so I feel like
dude, I would get
beard.
rid of the beard for Chase Young, man. I would get rid of anything. The guy's so good.
He is. And I really would like them to win, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, they would really need a game script where their defense keeps them in it, and then they have Antonio Gibson, or Smooches as we call him, JD McKissick, having a big game, but I think Tampa takes this one.
Yeah,
So
I hope we're
now,
both wrong.
yeah, so I do too. So now we're going to move on to another favorite of yours, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Los Angeles Rams. What do you got on this one?
Seattle, hands down.
Yeah, why is that?
Because the Rams suck. I mean, they're just not that good. Yeah, Seattle's a better team. They haven't been playing great of late, but Russell Wilson in the playoffs and the Rams not playing great, that's easy for me.
Yeah, like I really, really want to pick against Seattle because I think they're a fraud. I think they're a paper champion, but I can't pick John Wolford or, Jared Goff with a broken thumb. Again, the Rams are kind of in that same position that that we're finding ourselves in with Washington, right? Like the Rams
Yeah.
don't have Goff. They don't have Darrell Henderson. Cam Akers is out there hobbling around on a high ankle sprain. Like they're basically really hurt. But again, they're also very much like Washington. Like they have a very good defense. So I would not be surprised if Seattle loses, but I took chalk here and I also took Seattle.
So Wiggum, not only did he go with Tennessee, which was not a good pick, he went with Washington, which is a worse pick. And now he's going with the Rams. Like, Wiggum, I didn't think you drank that much, but apparently you did. So, I'm glad you're enjoying your Friday night.
I mean, we got to do something during quarantine. He's
That's
finally
true.
found some sours that he likes.
There you
So,
go. All right, what's
Now-
the last NFC game here, Brian? Is there like
So
a
now-
children's hospital or something in here?
we get to everyone's favorite. So there is the Taysom Hills, the New Orleans Saints, and they are facing everyone's favorite Mitchell Sad Trombonsky and the Chicago Bears. What do you got going on here?
Well, let's see. So we've got a football team versus a Boy Scout troop, or like a maybe a Girl Scouts troop. No, because they would beat the Bears too. Dude, the Bears aren't good. Let's be honest. I know they put up some decent games. Trubisky's not a good quarterback. He's never going to be a good quarterback. Their coaching is horrific. Like their coaching. I don't know why they haven't fired their coaching staff. There's no way they beat the Saints. Like I would be beyond shocked if they beat the Saints. It's just not going to happen.
Now, keep in mind that in the regular season, the Bears took the Saints to overtime and only lost by a field goal. So the Saints really did almost mess around and lose that game. And I believe that game was one of the games that was started by our good old friend Nicholas Foles, who I would really kind of laugh if Mitch Trubisky gets benched mid-game for Nick Foles, because they're like, hey, Nick Foles plays well during the playoffs.
Right? You got to do what you can do.
I got to take the Saints here. Whether Alvin Kamara gets to come back from COVID, or it's Latavius Murray or Taysom Hill or, David Montgomery, Ty Montgomery, any Montgomery that you want to name, Montgomery Gentry, it's going to be the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, Bears fans. Thanks for watching, but sorry.
Yes, thanks for watching. But now that the wild card round is done, we are moving to the AFC Divisional Round. So, in the divisional round, everything is reseeded. So for us, I had the Kansas City Chiefs. They would be facing the number 6 Cleveland Browns. And then the Buffalo Bills would be facing the number 5 Baltimore Ravens. Sconzi, what do you have over here?
Well, I've got the Chiefs facing the Baltimore Ravens, and I've got Buffalo facing Pittsburgh.
All right. So since we have different matchups, go ahead and tell the people what you think about your matchups here.
All right, well, the first one I've got is, where's my list? Kansas City and Baltimore. You know what? This one I thought a lot about. I really did. And mainly because I almost want to change my answer here. The Chiefs have not looked great of late. And to be fair, they finished 15-1. They wrapped up home field like a week or two early. So, yeah, but even when they were playing for stuff, they just didn't look great. So, There's a part of me that thinks Baltimore very, very well would win this game, but I chose Kansas City. I'll probably live to regret that, but so it's Kansas City over Baltimore. And then in the other game, I got Buffalo and Pittsburgh. I think we both kind of talked about Pittsburgh. They're not the Pittsburgh of old. Roethlisberger is old. I don't know that they're really that explosive offensively. And I'm sorry, but Buffalo has just looked insane. So I'm going with the Bills to head to the AFC Championship game.
I actually like that pick, but looking at my matchups now, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cleveland Browns. I think that's where the Browns' miracle run ends. I think they run into Patrick Mahomes, and they can't run their way out of this one. As much as they want to pound the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in a revenge game, the Kansas City Chiefs just take them out. And then we've got the Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. I actually picked the upset here. I picked Baltimore over Buffalo. I think that there's just an experience piece here where the Ravens defense can throw some things at Josh Allen that he hasn't seen before. Josh Allen is actually probably one of the top stories of the 2020 NFL season, considering that coming into this season, people really were like, I don't know, like maybe he's going to flame out, and he has been amazing.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I think I think maybe this is one of the games where, kind of like Mahomes had to do in his first or second year as a starter, like he took the loss and he had to come back from it. I think this is going to be that loss for Allen, and then he comes back really strong next year.
Okay.
So now we go to the NFC Divisional. So since I let you start the AFC, I'll start the NFC. We've got
Perfect.
the number 2 New Orleans Saints versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I think that even though this would be a rematch of the Beastquake game where Marshawn Lynch ran for that really long run, Marshawn Lynch isn't walking through that door. And I think the Seahawks go down to the New Orleans Saints, and Drew Brees continues that miracle run, considering that he still has 42 broken ribs, but he makes it to the NFC Championship game. And then we have our Green Bay Packers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this game, honestly, of all the teams that the Packers could play, scares me the most, because what I saw out of the Packers when they played their last game was their new left tackle being walked backwards into Aaron Rodgers 80% of the time. But what happened was they schemed for that. They did a lot of the short passes. They were really trying to do well. So I'm hopeful that this bye week they can continue to come up with schemes, because when they played Tampa the first time, they turned the ball over, they got behind, and it didn't work well.
It
But
was
you know
ugly.
what? I'm taking the Packers, because Tom Brady, he's going to have to take that knee, and he's not going to like it because he is in the Cheeto Academy. So he's going to take it, and the Packers are going to move on.
I like it. I hope that happens.
What do you got for the NFC?
So in the NFC, I have got Green Bay and Tampa Bay and New Orleans and Seattle. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Do we have the same thing in the NFC? We did.
I think we do.
Well, I'm gonna make it easy, and I'm gonna say I'm doing the same thing you're doing. New Orleans is gonna beat Seattle. Green Bay is gonna beat Tampa Bay. Although, let's be honest, they probably won't, because our defense is trash. But that's what I'm going with. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right. So then you have your AFC Championship matchup, which is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to kind of reiterate what I've said along the way. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs, who were the top seed, obviously last year's champion, not playing great. And then we got the upstart Buffalo Bills with young Josh Allen at quarterback, playing phenomenally. So I'm taking Buffalo in the upset.
I like it. Now, I have kind of what you might consider as not a chalk matchup, because you got the Kansas City Chiefs against the Baltimore Ravens. I believe this happened last year, and the Kansas City Chiefs moved on, and I think that's going to happen again. I think Patrick Mahomes makes it to his second Super Bowl in a row. So that's what I've got for that one. And then for the NFC Championship, we've got the Green Bay Packers versus the New Orleans Saints. Earlier this year, the Packers beat the Saints, and I think they do it again.
Yeah, no, I have the same thing. I've got Packers over the Saints as well. Again, my caveat to all of this is I hate our defense, and I don't know that it's going to happen. But defense, honestly, it has looked better of late. I am still very concerned that we lost Bakhtiari. I think that's a really big loss. But to your point, they did scheme for it really, really well. So I'm hoping that they're going to be able to be productive in the postseason. But yeah, I'm taking Green Bay.
Sounds good. So for the Super Bowl, I have the Green Bay Packers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is a matchup on paper of two offenses that basically look like each other and two defenses that look at each other like the same thing. So this is really that gif of two Spider-Mans pointing at each other. So you've got the old veteran Aaron Rodgers and the new young buck Patrick Mahomes. And I think what happens here is that Aaron Rodgers gets that Super Bowl ring to cement his legacy. He can do the belt. He can put it in the face of everybody who buried him. And this will be the Green Bay Packers' year to win the Super Bowl. What do you say to that, Christopher?
I will take it. Let's leave. That's good. Super Bowl, Packers, they wwin. I'm done.
All right. Well, what about your Super Bowl?
Oh, well, I have Green Bay winning too, which is such a homer pick. They're playing. I'll look at the positives. I'll always bitch about the defense because it's just trash. But like I said, with the NFC Championship pick, the defenses look better. There's a lot of talent in the defense, and even though he made a couple really stupid plays, Kevin King looked really good last week. I was excited about it. I know you like to make fun of that one horrible tackle that he missed, but overall he looked pretty good. But just the defense as a whole, they seem to be playing better almost in spite of the scheme. And then we've had that conversation all year long, right? Like the players, we have good, talented players on defense, but they just don't seem to perform. And it seems like now maybe you could say the scheme is, maybe they're figuring it out. Maybe they changed the scheme. I'm going to say that they're performing, above the scheme. That's kind of what I think. But either way, defenses look better. Offensively, I would argue that no one has been better than the Packers in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. Maybe Buffalo. That's about the only one I think is probably in that category. And I just think that the way that they're playing, if they make it to this game, there's no way they don't win. And it kind of sucks because I would root for Buffalo over any other team in the entire playoffs, except this one. And so that's going to kind of suck. But yeah, I've got the Packers winning as well.
I think it's really helped the Packers that they've had a couple of these clunkers and stinkers and things like that along the way that they've hopefully been able to learn from. So those, ladies and gentlemen, chat listeners, podcast folks, those are our picks. We both have Green Bay winning the Super Bowl, so we will see over the course of these next weeks how these picks turned out. But for now, that is your random rankings for the week. Now, Christopher, I know that we're getting close to our time. Do you have an extra point that you want to share, or should we kind of wrap the podcast just on a positive note and punt, so to speak, the extra points to our future weeks?
No, I think we should do an extra point. We still got, what time is it? We're at an hour 15. Okay, we're running long, but let's just do a quick extra point then.
All right, give me what you got.
Well, I wasn't ready to go first. No, I'll go. So I spent quite a bit of time, earlier taking the pessimistic view, and I would argue that it's a realistic view. I just think that we are so far down in the rabbit hole. I don't see us getting back out, at least not easily. That doesn't mean we don't try, right? I as pessimistic as I sound, as much as I look at it with shades on to say, what, the future looks bleak. It does. 100% it does. That doesn't mean you don't try. Doesn't mean you don't keep fighting, right? It doesn't mean you still don't have those conversations. I'm not going to come in here next week on this podcast and just be negative Nancy and, oh my God, the country's going to end and Donald Trump wins and blah. That's not who I am, right? That's not what I'm about. We have to continue to try. We have to continue to speak our truths. We have to continue to stand up to people who are holding, I would say, just fundamentally wrong points of view. And I'm not saying someone who thinks, someone who's a conservative versus someone who's a liberal. I'm talking far right-wing militia. I'm going to overthrow the government. Black people are horrible. Those are you have to stand up for that. We have to stand up for that. I have to stand up for that. And we have to continue to take that positive approach. We have to take the opportunity to educate people when we can. We have to take the opportunity to engage and have conversations with people. We have to check ourselves. We have to educate ourselves. I'm not right about everything. Maybe I am, but I'm not right. I'm not right about everything. I need to check myself and educate myself too. And that means that I have to be open in those conversations with people to possibly change my point of view, or at least be open to other points of view. And I think it's important that we do that. And I think that it's important that as we're moving forward, we keep a positive attitude as much as we can. Yeah, my outlook for the future may be incredibly bleak, but I can still own that in the moment. I can still push for change. I can still get engaged, maybe even publicly in public office, locally or nationally. Who knows? Not nationally, but maybe. But we have to do what we can. And if we do that, if nothing else, what we have done is we've helped make sure that we are doing good. We have helped make sure that we're seeing the positive. We've helped make sure that we are in a good mental health space. And maybe along the way, we can help someone else too. And in the end, my philosophy has always been that my goal in life is to help people and put them in a position to help other people. That's it. That's as simple as it is. And how everybody does that, they do it their own way. But I think if we are able to not only make one other person's life better, help them see something in a different light, help them be more comfortable with who they are, help them, find a better headspace, a better mental health space, and we can give them the tools to help someone else, that cascade can make a huge world of difference. So that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I hope that you do as well.
I think that's a great point, and I think that actually leads me right into my extra point. My extra point this week was to talk about what we engage with, in particular, the media. There's a lot of challenges that people have with the media. They feel like things are biased or they don't report the full story or things like that. And what I would say about that is some of that true? Sure, it might be true in some cases because there are major corporations sponsoring this event, right? Like if you're watching an NFL broadcast, they're not going to want to tell you if a game is crap because there are multiple, corporations sponsoring this event. They might not tell you the full truth about that. And whatever you see when it comes to the media, these people have real lives and they're trying to do the best job that they can to inform you. That's one of the greatest parts about our country is that we have the opportunity to be informed from multiple lenses, from multiple areas, from multiple perspectives. We're not told that there's just one way that it is, and that's what it is. We're not told that if you don't listen to it in this one way, you're going to go to prison, you're committing treason, and you're committing fraud, and you're going to go to jail. But in that same lens, this advantage that we get from having multiple lenses, if you don't like the lens that you're getting, it's on you to find other resources. It's on you to do the research. It's on you to educate yourself to a point where you feel comfortable making a decision and making a opinion about somebody. Nobody is going to make that opinion for you but you. It sickens me to see people out here destroying cameras and harassing press and harassing media members and saying, you're the enemy of the people. The only enemy of the people is the people who do that, right? Because, like you're saying, it's time to be positive. It's time to find this information. It's time to educate ourselves and move forward and try to be the best people that we can be. And that starts by trying to be as well rounded and as well educated as we can be. And sometimes that's hard because, like we talked about earlier, you might have to challenge yourself and say, oh man, something that my mom, my dad, my cousin, my grandma, my aunt told me about this, that's wrong. And this person is someone that I loved and I trusted. But that's the only way that we can become the best version of ourselves is to challenge ourselves every single day. And sometimes in that challenge, we're validated. And sometimes in that challenge, we are not validated and we have to adapt. But adaptation is the best way to move, because there's an old quote that I use. It's called adapt or perish, because if you're not adapting, you're dying. So every day, take it upon yourself to find the things, to do the things, to be the thing, to be the person that you want to be.
Well said. Well said. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. I appreciate it. I know Brian appreciates it. I know this was an episode that was really full of a bunch of politics and, you know, all that type of stuff, which all of us have, I'm guessing have heard and listened to and dealt with over the week. And hopefully this doesn't take you back to a negative space. I know that it's very easy for that to happen. You know, Brian and I are both very, very much mental health advocates, so we don't want that to happen. But we also, you know, we have a very, 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 very small platform here, and I think it's important that we share our voices and our opinions and hopefully help to make a little bit of a change in the world. So thank you for being here. Brian, do you want to talk about our socials real quick before we wrap it up?
Yep. For sure. So if you want to find us in the future, you can find us in lots of places. For example, Twitter. You can find me at LandmarkMKE. You can find Skonzi at SKONZII. You can find us as a group at Almost Qualified Productions AQ underscore PROD. You can also find us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/AQPROD. You can also find the new hotness tip of the week is Skonzi has a Patreon page. So you can find Skonzi on Patreon. And what we'll be doing in the future is when we have episodes like this where we just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, but there's other stuff that we want to talk about, we are going to record a segment called We Random Extra Time. And when we record We Random Extra Time, subscribers to a specific Patreon level will be able to have access to that content, and it will be very good. It will be very nice. And hopefully, in that content, I will not say things like these fuckers, but I cannot guarantee that. But I would definitely say check out the Patreon. That's something that we're just starting up here. So, you know, it's new, hot, fresh for 2021. But check that out if you can. If you're not able to support in a financial way, we definitely understand. We just want to make sure that you connect with us in some way. So whether you tweet at us, whether you watch the stream, whether you retweet our stuff, whether you send us DMs with thoughts about different segments of random rankings, you tell us what you think of the show, you give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. However you want to engage with the show, we want to engage with you, because we don't want you as a listener and a viewer to feel like you have to do something in a certain way, but we just want to know that you're out there, and we want you to know that we appreciate you. So please engage with us. We're not that scary. I mean, trust me, we like to talk to you. So any of those ways that I said to get in contact with us, please do. But in other times, in other places, I think that for now, that's going to be the end of our podcast. Do you have any other things to say to the people, Christopher?
No, I'm good. I think we've held them hostage long enough. We can let them go.
All right. Well, until next week, I'm Brian. That's Christopher. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for doing what you do. You do good job in the world. And until next time, we will see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Perfect. All right. Well, not perfect. I forgot to start the music early. That's all right. I almost hit stop streaming. Stop recording. Stop recording. All your tracks finished uploading. So let me get this wrapped up. And then I'm going to shut her down really quick, chat, because I'm already late to my other commitment.
Yeah, that's why I asked you if you wanted to do a random ranking. So I was looking at the clock. I was like, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to you, man.
Yeah, I've been keeping them updated as we're going through, so they know that we're running a bit late. Okay, I've got the audio downloaded, so you can close out of. I guess we could say goodbye, and you can say goodbye,
Yeah.
and then we'll close out.
All right.
So, chat.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, no, if you want to say goodbye to chat, go for it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chad. I see Wiggum out there. I see Emily out there. I know that there's probably some other folks out there too. Thank you for watching this. This was a really great podcast episode. We're really passionate about this. We appreciate all of your support. So please, like I said in the pod, let us know what you think. If you have thoughts, ideas, criticisms, let me know. If you're like, man, I'm tired of seeing your little picture. I want to actually see your face. Let me know that stuff too. But other than that, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, P. I'm sure we'll be chatting. Have a good night, man.
You too.
Alrighty, bye-bye. All right, chat. Good times. Good times. Thank you all for being here. Wiggum, I hope you're still out there. I sent you a private message, but dude, you are so incredibly helpful with all the links and engagement. I mean, you were right on point with everything. Thank you very, very, very much. I really, really do appreciate it. I love having you here to begin with, but your support is incredible. I know that you prefer to be more behind the scenes, and it's super, super helpful. So thank you for that. To everyone else that's here, I know Emily was pretty vocal, and I think she said Buffalo all the way. So I'm not sure if that means Buffalo or said Buffalo 100. No, that was you. Where was Emily's? I didn't call it out in the moment. Totally going Seahawks. I thought she said something about Buffalo. Maybe I'm drunk. I might be drunk. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. We'll check back and we'll see how we did on these picks. The one thing I was going to mention that I forgot to mention, the Chicago Bears have the lowest odds for winning the Super Bowl out of anyone in the playoffs. I mean, they're tied with Washington, but that's kind of bad when you're tied with Washington. So I just thought I'd throw that out there because most of us can enjoy that fact. Seahawks for the week. Okay, that's what you meant. So who do you have winning the whole thing then, Emily? We might as well get you on record. Looks like we got Buffalo for Wiggum, Green Bay for Brian and I, kind of the homer picks. And Emily's going to pick the Chicago Bears. No. We'll see if she's got a pick. But I'm going to go ahead and start getting things shuttered down so I can run off. As Emily, Emily's got the Packers. I love it. Good pick. So we got 3 Green Bay, 1 Buffalo. So as a reminder, I have no idea. Well, Green Bay's a good pick too. As a reminder, I do stream Monday through Thursday currently at 7 p.m. Central Time. I am kicking around taking a day off during that Monday through Thursday portion, just so I can get some other things done and then also just have a chill day. So more to come, but for right now, Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. And then on Fridays, we do the podcast here at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Every other week I have a D&D thing like I do tonight. On those opposite nights or the opposite weeks, I often keep streaming throughout the night. Sometimes I'm done at 7, sometimes I keep going. And then of course on the weekends, sometimes I sneak in and surprise you with the stream. So make sure you click that follow or subscribe button and hit those notifications. Make sure those are turned on and you'll know that I'm around. So with that, I'm not quite going to say goodnight because there's a lot of chatting going on. We aren't right. At least we have a podcast to complain about it. I just don't want the old man to be right. That's fair. None of us want that. How do we not play They Suck drop during the political talk? That's a good point. Probably because I forgot where it is. So it's this one, I think. Nope, not that one. It's not that one. I think it's this one. They fucking suck. There you go. I got. They're not labeled, so it's hard to find out where they are. I got the dun dun, and I got the cheers. And then I got the booze. So yeah, I'm still working it out. I'm still working out. Not Among Us tonight, Z-Dubs. I've got D&D tonight. We are tentatively planning for Sunday evening. So if you're on the Among Us group, it's in the Discord. Potentially tomorrow night as a surprise thing, maybe. I think I might be out of town, but I'm gonna have a laptop, so maybe. But let's plan for Sunday evening around 7 o'clock. So if you're in and you're in the Discord, go ahead and just let us know that you're game. And with that, I am now 15 minutes late, so I have to run. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Truly, truly appreciated. And I will see you probably on Monday. Hopefully on Monday. Definitely on Monday. Good night, Chad.